Welcome, angels and all. And I'm just calling to tell you that you are totally unqualified for what you want to do. And that's the best reason for doing it. I know that I have procrastinated and put off doing things I really want to do because I think I needed more qualifications, more experience, more mentorship, more. And what I've discovered is that nobody is qualified to do anything. We only get our qualifications by doing things. And if we think about Greenpeace, David McTaggart was totally unqualified to run Greenpeace because nothing had been run like that. Nothing existed before. And here it is, 70 years later, it's still going. So we don't have to be qualified. In fact, it's probably a prerequisite to be not qualified, which goes against the whole schooling, university, education stuff, that you must have this qualification and this qualification and this thing and this thing and this thing, and then you can go and do it. But we don't. We actually qualify by doing things. And we stumble and we fall and we make a mess and we bugger it up and we get criticism for doing it wrong, and on we go, but eventually we get better. And I saw an interview with Ed Sheeran recently, and the interviewer was reflecting back what other people said about Ed, that what a lucky person he is to have such a beautiful voice. And so what Ed did, he played a soundtrack the first time he recorded himself singing, and it was dreadful. He had an awful voice. It was off tune, and he didn't have it was awful. It was this awful sort of growly thing. And he said, that's where I started. But he kept going, as he said. I kept going and kept going and kept going, and he refined his voice, and he was soon able to sing in tune. He couldn't to start with. And he was able to refine his voice. I'm trying to get rid of that thing at the back. And so he became the Ed Sheeran that we know now. But it didn't happen overnight. So he started when he was unqualified, and he got qualified by doing. And Mark Knopfler, he got his first guitar, and every night he fell asleep practicing. He was practicing, and he would just fall asleep over his guitar and wake up. And people would say, he's a gifted guitarist. No, he's a practice guitarist. He practiced, and the same with Eric Clapton. So the first guitar that Eric Clapton's bricklaying father bought for him, a very cheap guitar, Eric would play that every night until his fingers bled. Bloody painful. But he had the desire. He was unqualified, but he kept going. And people now say, what a gifted guitarist he is. No, he's a qualified guitarist because he did it and he did it and he did it. And he started out being unqualified. And he is where he is now because he did it. He did it. And he did it really badly to start with. And he stuffed it up a million times. So most of the people who have succeeded in the world are those who have started out as sinners and practiced being saints and become saints. But they were totally unqualified to be saints before they started. They were sinners, to put it in religious language. So we all start out unqualified. We all start out not knowing what we're doing. We all start out being inadequate. And that's how it should be, because the being inadequate drives us to become better. So there's things I have no desire to be. I'm unqualified to be a butcher, but I don't want to be a butcher. But there are things I'm unqualified at that I do want to be. And I want to be a better teacher. And my teaching career started when I decided that I didn't want to be an accountant, and maybe I could slip sideways into teaching accounting. So I went along to the Polytech, and they just took me on because I was an accountant. I had no experience of teaching, never done it before. So I taught for a year and was absolutely petrified every single day, every moment, before every class, there was these moments that I was so terrified. I can't do this. I've got to give up. I'll walk away. And there were so many times I could have walked away that first year. And then it started to become, I can perhaps do it a little bit. And then after a year, they decided that they would have this qualification for teachers. So I taught for a year, and then I did the teaching qualification. And I said to Ian at the time, the teacher trainer, I said, I've done it all backwards. I've been teaching for a year, and now I'm learning how to do it. And he said, that's the best way to do it. Because he said, if you had just never been a teacher and started training, I wouldn't be there. My uniqueness, my particular way of teaching. He said, that would have been drummed out of me, and I would teach how I'm supposed to. But he said, because you've started without any training, that uniqueness can't be drummed out of you now. So I thought, okay, so you don't need to be qualified. You can add to what you've got, of course. If I go read some books or do some courses or do something, I can add to what I've got. But by starting unqualified, I bring my own uniqueness to the job, whatever it is. And so there's always someone that can teach me something, whether it's in a book or a workshop or somewhere. But just doing it is the greatest teacher. And if you feel like you're unqualified, you are, and that's probably the best reason for doing it, if you've got a desire to do it. So please don't put off, because some of the many reasons we don't start is because we worry about not getting it perfect. And then people will criticize us. We'll be judged. And we're terrified of judgment. Absolutely terrified. And we're terrified of getting it wrong. This whole health and safety world has dumbed us down. And we're terrified of doing the wrong thing. We've got to have a sign that says you must do this or you must not do that, or there's barriers here and there's flashing lights and those yellow orange cones everywhere to protect us. So I would say just step out into the world naked without your qualifications. To hell with seat belts and whatever you want to do for your occupation or your mission, your passion. Follow your passion without the seat belts, without the braces. Well, they call it belt and braces. Just walk out into the world naked and naive, and have a go. And you might, your fingers might bleed, or you might fall asleep with the exhaustion. Or you might just practice and be really, 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 really terrible, as Ed Sheeran was, and keep going, and keep going. So I said at the start that you are unqualified, and thank God for that, and that's the perfect place to start. If you start now with unqualification, with naivety, do the job, get on with it, and make a mess, make mistakes, get criticised, enjoy the fluffing about, and enjoy the learning. And tweaking each day. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you compare this video with the first one I did, I think I had about 50 ands in there. And I realised that I got too many ands. So I'm now purposely purposely focused on not saying and. And I'm getting better at not saying and. So it's practice and practice and practice. So I wish you a wonderfully unqualified, going for it, making mistakes and falling over and getting up kind of day. I bless you and wish you peace.